Hi, my name is Nan Cohen. I'm with Light Productions, and I want to welcome you to Light Television. This is Light Television number 8. And here with me today is my friend, Zaba Singer. Yay, Zaba! Hi, Zaba.
Hi, Nan.
Welcome to Light Television.
Thanks for letting us welcome.
You're welcome. It's an honor and a privilege to have you here.
Thanks.
Mhm.
This is different from Denise's.
This is different from Denise's.
So, tell me why you asked me here today. It's really important to me to know what you had in mind and wanted to interview me.
Well, I guess the answer would be Rick and I have been guided to watch it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Light television is by invitation. In other words, people either say, hey, I really want to be on light television, and or we say, how would you like to be on light television? So it's an invitation.
Thanks for inviting me. This is great.
You're welcome. Thanks for accepting the invitation.
So how can I be helpful in this production? What would you like to know?
Well, you already are helpful in this production. What I'd like to know, I have some questions in mind that I'm going to ask you one at a time, and answer them how you feel. The first question that I have in mind to ask you is, how do you want to begin?
Oh, great question. Let's see. Because I've been thinking about this for weeks. How about I begin with some things I know about myself as a child and what I liked and that I still cherish. I have to do with nature, working outside, and things you don't find very often anymore are fields with lots of tall green soft grass. How much I liked that. Warm sidewalks in Denver after a rain, and the smell of newsprint and paper cane. I realized that I was a child that enjoyed the sensory experience. And then somewhere along the line, I learned to read, and then I just wanted to read everything. Probably I was around 5. And I think probably fairy tales were the most important to me. So that's how I'd like to begin, is with the understanding that even as a young child, I took in a lot of sensory experience and liked rolling down hills and liked using my body and twirling and dancing ways. Didn't speak out very much, I was rather quiet until a certain point in time. So that's where I begin, because I like to work with children. It's important for me to remember their past and how.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a wonderful beginning. So the next question, which is what Light Productions and Light Television are all about, is about spiritual light. It's about light. L-I-G-H-T. What is light? What does spiritual light mean to you?
So I can go back to myself as a child, because I recognize that, whether it was that I had blonde curly hair or that I had some kind of twinkle in my eye or whatever it was, people referred to me as a very light child. And I don't know what they were meaning. Maybe they were just meaning the sunlight reflecting golden colors, I don't know. But when I've written about my childhood, it always comes as a child born into a light experience. And it's like a circle. And that's been very reinforcing for me, because I, like a lot of children, went through some hardships, and somehow that light persevered, even though I got tucked away after a while. It never went totally away. So if I think about what light means to me, I go back to children and me as a child. And how I delight, which is another way, I guess, of saying light. I delight in the presence of children.
So, light in the presence of children. They are like children. Thank you. Next question. Do you consider yourself to be a light worker?
Well, you and I tossed that around a little bit, and I thought about it, and I know that there are people who call themselves light workers. So if I again say, well, yes, I work with light, and then I see light, and does that make me a light worker? I don't know. I only recognize when that's in the presence of an experience I'm having with someone else. I love to bathe in that presence. Sometimes, because I am considered a psychotherapist and licensed in that way, people use the word work. Well, what's the work like? And where do you work? Or how do you like your work? That it has a different meaning when you use it that way. But I could say I work with the light that comes into a session, it comes into an experience with another person, and that I honor it. I'm quiet around it. I deepen the experience. And that's the way I think I could define it.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 3, the next question is...
Oh yes, we know which number this is.
Probably answered it already. Just to stay consistent, I'll ask it, okay? If you consider yourself to be a light worker, when you consider yourself to be a light worker, what form does your light work take?
Wow, I recognize these questions. They're like a little beyond the beyond. How can I put form to light? Because the light has no form. But I also am so interested in how the distinction between what's the brain and what's the body, that distinction's been erased. Now it's all one. So I think, well, if I let go of any sense of form, then light is naturally there. But as soon as I impose form, which comes from the thinking part of me, that it has to be a certain way, then I don't have an experience of life. So it's difficult to say that I see a form of light. And the only way I can see that is if I don't think that it's anything else. So if I think, oh, it's supposed to be like this, and I worry about it, then there is no light. If I let go of all of that, then there is.
That is a very interesting answer. Thank you. That is a great answer. I've noticed in the past that when I've asked a question to other people, there have been people who have answered it in very interesting ways. Like somebody said something about what form is my being, or what form am I being, and that wasn't what I thought I asked. And I didn't say anything, I just let the person answer the question. It's amazing what comes forward. Another way of asking the question could be, as a light worker, what is your role? When you consider yourself a light worker, if you consider yourself a light worker, or should I say, if you consider yourself a light worker, when you do consider yourself a light worker, what's your role? What role do you play within that?
The only thing I can think to answer that is a poem by Rumi that was the first introduction I ever had 20 years ago to his work. And I knew nothing about his background. But the poem was, when I see you, I will laugh out loud, or I will fall silent. I will laugh out loud because you are my dearest, most wonderful friend, and I'm so delighted to see you. Or I will fall silent because I'm so moved by your presence. And if I don't do those two things, one or the other, or both, then I'm going to be stuck in the cement of my own prison. So when I see you, I will laugh out loud, or I will fall silent because I'm so moved by your presence. And that's the 5 days.
So the next question is, how effective do you think you're being in your role, in the role that you play as a light, as a person who cares so much?
This is silly, but the first thing I think about is that my husband and I went to the grocery store the night before Thanksgiving, and people are working on the night before Thanksgiving, and people are buying things. And so I found some Haagen-Dazs chocolate sorbet, and I thought, I'm going to get this, but I managed to knock over a whole bunch of ice cream on the counter, which went rolling on the floor. There was a man across the way getting ice cream. And we talked about the eagerness to get ice cream. And we got into this almost little dance in the aisle, which I think enlivened both of us. And then Michael came around and went, well, he seemed like a friendly person. So we just had the same counter with rolling cartons of ice cream. And it just made us both happy. So is that effective? What's true about the energy of the heart is it's magnetic energy. The field around the heart, in some ways of looking at it, and I guess this is a scientific study that it's 60 times more powerful than the energy around the brain. So if my effectiveness in a grocery store aisle, because I let go of the judgment that I shouldn't be knocking ice cream down and someone might see me, and I just make it play and fun, then it starts spreading to aisle after aisle after aisle after aisle. That man goes home and it spreads that way, because that's what happens to heart energy. It's quite different. So I'd say I was effective in the grocery store. And when I work with children that have developmental delays and children with autism, I realize I'm very effective because I totally love these kids. Mm-hmm. And I think it's hard to say you love someone from the very beginning that you meet them, but that's how I feel about these kids. And they don't need to be developmentally delayed, or I mean, I see kids with cognitive disorder and all kinds of various things, but I can see the kid. Mm-hmm. I can see that child, and that's effective. And I've had feedback saying the thing that was most important was I didn't have judgment about them. They knew I loved them. So I think that's pretty effective. I can't say the same thing about every population, but I know it's true of children.
And I agree. I wanted to add something for myself, and that is that so often I find myself feeling love for almost everyone. I mean, I don't mean in every moment. I mean, I find myself feeling overwhelmed by love, and it's not a personal love. It's not a personal. It's not. I don't even know that person, and I just feel like I understand that we're all those moments, they're amazing. They're not easy to talk about, as you can tell, but they're amazing. So I feel that I totally know what you're talking about, what you're saying, because I find myself feeling that way so often.
I had an encounter with a child in a laundromat a long time ago. She was a child who was raised by a mom who was harsh and difficult. And this child was sitting on the washing machine or the counter or something. Anyway, she was up high enough to look me in the eye. And she grabbed my arm in a twist, like kind of one of those puzzle things you can't pull apart. So I knew, because of the way she grabbed my arm, that I wouldn't be able to get away from her. And her mom's back was turned, so there was no punishment involved. And I decided to say to her, my dog is at the vet's, and I can hear him calling for me. And I have to go now, because I really love my dog. And she just got transfixed in the moment and completely let go of my arm. And so that's an effective way to engage with someone that I could then leave with a sense of, I can have love for this child no matter what's going on in his family. And I can convey love to my dog, and that then gets through to her, and then she has no resistance to me. It was just a brief encounter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's happened a lot. Brief encounters that have tension charged, and if I can come from a place of complete appreciation for something that's absolutely true about this person, all that tension goes away.
Mm-hmm. Instantaneously?
Instantaneous. Because that tension can't exist in the energy of the heart. It can't. We can even do a demonstration and have everybody thinking really good, wonderful things. Have one person come in and think awful things and angry things and resentful things, and that anger and resentment can't last in the field of energy. It dissipates.
That's like...
Yeah, I guess that's Yay!
When we did the first Light television show, we were talking about Right On. Somebody said Right On, and I said, Light On! Your answers are great.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Next question has to do with effectiveness as well. Has to do with raising the effectiveness level towards 100 or whatever the numbers. What might be needed, what would be more supportive, what would be more necessary, what could be added to increase the effectiveness level, to raise it up even more?
When you say effectiveness, you're thinking something. What are you thinking about with effectiveness? Effectiveness of
how you're being as a light worker.
Of how I'm being. How could I raise my effectiveness?
And that's not, I'm not saying that to imply that there's something wrong. I'm giving you an opportunity to ask God for something if there's something that you need my assistance with. It's like an opening.
It's really interesting because when you first started talking, I thought, oh, you're talking about effectiveness of light in the population that exists. So how can we raise the light everywhere? And then when I ask you, you're saying, no, how can I be more effective in raising my own consciousness?
Actually, I like what you said first.
Oh, you're present.
I really like that, raising the light. I like that. That's best.
You do. Well, I'm so intrigued by people that I have listened to, like people who were interviewed on New Dimensions, let's say. And years ago, a man named David Bohm, who unfortunately has since died, was interviewed on New Dimensions, a theoretical physicist. I've never taken physics. I don't know anything about how one gets trained to be a theoretical physicist. And he was talking about true dialogue. How do we talk without agenda? So you might have questions to ask, but those aren't necessarily agendas, because I keep seeing you abandon one agenda and be open to whatever's coming, right? The agenda is, okay, this question. So I would listen to him over and over and over again talk about there would be no competition that would result in mine is better than yours, or yours is better than mine, so I'm going to take yours. It would just be dialogue about our different ways of looking at things. And he studied with people that I had heard of and had some books by, like J. Krishnamurti, and I thought, oh, he's gone to places and he studied about what true dialogue is. I wonder if that could happen, where people have no agenda, but to be very attentive and listening. So that raises the effectiveness of communication. It also brings up another, not just an idea, but a practice. We all like to be regarded as looking good, right? So we say things that look good, and we dress in ways that we think look good, and we wear our hair in ways that look good, and we want comments about how we look good or we're doing something really well. And sometimes we get them, and then we want more. And then sometimes someone comes and says, well, you know, you still, I don't think you quite washed your face, or you've got your hair's kind of sticking up in the back, and that comment goes in and is felt more deeply than the comments about we're looking good. So then I often wonder, well, why is that? Why would one negative remark completely diminish all of those good things? And what does looking good mean anyway? So then I started studying a little bit about a biofeedback program and learning something about what's left brain, what's right brain. And it turns out that the left brain, left hemisphere, handles positive suggestion, and the right hemisphere handles negative suggestion. Well, the right hemisphere actually is like the content, like the context of something. It's global, it's big, it's the image. And the left hemisphere has its good job of doing logical, sequential, the text. So the difficult things that people say, maybe out of kindness and concern, I don't know, but they go in very deeply, go in globally. And they last a long time, much longer than these really wonderful comments. So when we're doing dialogue with each other, there's always the worry about looking good if it's not true dialogue. And that brings agenda in. What I practice a discipline called authentic movement, and authentic movement developed by a woman named Mary Stark Whitehouse and learned very deeply by a teacher of mine, Janet Adler. And Janet and I spent quite a lot of time together, and that I was in a group with her. And authentic movement is, I just get to move and be seen by someone. Not looked at, not watched, not judged. The person witnessing me suspends all agenda. And I can tell you that to be truly seen is, for me and for those that I've done this discipline with, frightening. So a lot of people think if they're really seen, someone's going to see that there's nothing there. That they're a little paste up. And all their efforts at looking good. Actually, the way I thought about it for a long time is I'm this paper doll. As long as I face front, and you don't get too close a look at me, you will not know that I don't have anything behind his front. That's what I thought for a long time. Well, when someone really sees you, and they see your beauty, and they're delighted to see you, or they're so moved by your presence that they fall silent, they're seeing all of you and appreciating you, and for many people that's very painful, because they have never really been seen that way. So if I say, how can I raise my effectiveness, being willing to be seen, suspending my own judgment about myself, letting go of any assumptions I made about the other person and what they're thinking about me, seeing them without agenda, letting go of everything else that happened before, and just being present. And that's a discipline. That is not true with little children, by the way. It's a discipline now because we somehow forgot that we can see each other that way. Because little children will continually look back at familiar faces and love that experience. Watch a child who's walking for the first time, walk, fall down, look back, not cry. Maybe the fall was even hurtful, but it doesn't matter. The walking is just an absolute triumph. They'll always look back at a familiar face for that reinforcement. And somewhere along the line in childhood, we lose either the familiar face or the trust in the familiar face, or something's happened to kind of tweak our experience, and then we forget we can return. So you and I know that there is a wonderful song about return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, return to the land of your soul. Well, that returning and remembering to return is what makes for more effectiveness. That's all I have to say about that.
That was amazing. I was thinking, I know at least one thing I was thinking, that I would think that being truly seen would be so deeply healing.
It's so moving. It's so incredible an experience. So I'm married to a person who truly sees me. That's been like, oh, I'm beginning to get this. That I don't have to hide anything. I'm truly seen. And there's good days and bad days, but I'm always truly seen. And that's a new experience in a relationship for me, in a primary relationship. Yay.
Michael, you're an amazing person. Zeb, you're an amazing person. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Next question. The next question is, do you feel that you receive support?
I like the question, and the key word is receive. Because if you had said, do you feel like that I have support? And I would say, oh yes, I have lots of support of all kinds. But when you say, do you receive, would you say, do you receive enough? Or do you receive support? How did you say it?
Did I say, do you feel that you receive
Do
support?
I feel that I receive support? You see, if I take the sentence and I go, if I take feel and receive, then what it says is, I can feel my heart opening to the support that has been existing in my life forever. I can feel that, because my heart is open to it. And I put my hands here, I know my heart's here, but I believe just as there's gray matter all through our bodies, we have little brain cells all through our body, in particular organs, and every cell has intelligence. But I also think heart exists in more places than just here. So I'm going to say, yes, I feel in the sensory way of taking something in. the receiving of support. I can feel that now. I'm not deflecting anything anymore. Most of the time.
That was a very powerful answer. I don't know if I would let that stay in, what I'm saying now or not. That was an extremely powerful answer. My guide said, that's why God wanted you to ask it exactly that way. And I was like, whoa. That was amazing. Okay, the next question is an expansion on the support question. Has to do with we all, I think usually people want more support. So I could ask you, do you want more support? Do you need more support? Would you appreciate more support? Do you think you need more support? Whatever those questions are, those words. And I could also say, ask you instead, if you felt that more support would be important to you, do you know how that would show up? What it might be like? Can you narrow it down, or can you do you currently have the words to invite in more support, or more of the kind of support you want, or even more? And you can interpret that question however you want. You can have that question be whatever you want it to be. If I'm not saying it right at all, whatever it's supposed to be, you can answer whatever that question is. Okay?
All right, well, a lot of things come to mind. Quite a long time ago, our mutual, I would say friend and rabbi, was leading a talk about Judaism and shamanism in somebody's home. And maybe you were there, I don't know. Someone kept saying, well, but why is this rabbi, and why is that rabbi, and why? It's like a little child would say, why is the moon there, or why is the sky blue? And I suddenly got this hit that why is like a little doorway to the numinous, and numinous meaning is experience of numinosity or light or spirituality or whatever someone would think of as another realm. And that why is like the little doorway, and any question asked with why is this, this little pathway opens up. And so I said this in this group, and Reb Gershons looked at me and took out, grabbed a guitar. No, maybe it was a drum. I can't remember. It's a drum and guitar. And he said, I'll give you a chant. And he looked at me like, how did you know that? Because I had never thought about that before. So the chant starts with Hineni, which was always a very favorite phrase for me. Because when I would go with a friend of mine to Hebrew school and sit in the back, because I was going to go to Hebrew school, I just was going to sit in the back, I was amazed they were taking roll by saying the person's name, and then the child would answer back, Hineni. And I thought, that's way better than here or present. It's like, here I am, I am here. And so from the time I was maybe 6 or 7, I thought that phrase was totally it. Here I am here. It's a complete affirmation. I should have. So that's what the chant essentially was that Reb Gershon gave me and the rest of the people in the room. And it essentially says, look, I'm here, I showed up, I don't know what to do. And so from the time I was like 6, now, the years have gone by, and now I have a 6 and a 9, this is my 69th year, then I could say, it's still with me. So I do things like, well, I'll just tell you this. I don't know anybody else who does this, but I have in my email program, I email Spirit, and I write these little requests, and I say, Spirit, I showed up. I don't know what to do. I don't know what kind of support would be good, but it would be great if someone would do all the detail work and I could just go out and talk and hopefully speak in a way that would be inspiring. And I've been writing that for a long time. And I have this little folder that says Spirit on it. It's my email folder for Spirit. And I save it as a draft. So I don't get this back that says your email couldn't be sent because there is no recipient by this name. So I've been doing that for a long time, and I have also imagined that someone would show up at the door and knock at the door and say, "I'm here to help you in any way I can." And then I would say, "Well, could you do these like little mundane things? Even though I kind of like sweeping the floor and doing dishes and stuff. Could you handle that for me? And could you handle some of my book work?" And I never quite let go of that image about someone coming saying that. And then my neighbor comes down one day and he had emailed me about, he's writing a story, and he emailed me and he said something like, "I'm just on fire, I want to come down and talk to you." And I thought, this is my typical thing. Oh, he's going to come down, he's going to say, "Will you help me with this editing?" But he didn't say that. He said, "I've decided I want to manage your career." I went, "What?" He said, "Yeah." He said, I think I could do it." He said, and then he named these various ways, and it's like, "What are you doing here? You came in the door and you said," and then I said, "Well, sure, yeah, go for it." Then he said, "Well, what will you want to talk about?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't have it in a nice little format, like you could advertise. It would have a name, and so we call it the Z method." And I said, "No." And it was kind of, we've met every week and kind of joked around about this. And, but it isn't a joke. He's really serious. So that's the story about, am I getting enough support? Is there another way I can ask for it? I've asked for it in perfectly the right way. Hineni still is the phrase. My little group now consists of my neighbor and his wife and Michael and me talking every week about how we can do this. And I still haven't defined what my part is. So there it is. I took your question.
It's great.
Made a story.
It's great. We love you, Gershon. Rabbi Gershon Winkler. He's the rabbi. He's the rabbi. I was thinking when you say Hineni, I was thinking Hineni Mato, but that's not the song.
And this isn't. I've never heard this chant before. No. Hineni Mato is about gathering together, I think. I don't know. There's some good energy about gathering together as people. So,
I heard something amazing. I'm pausing because I may edit this down. There's a woman who said that for the first time ever, their neighborhood is going to celebrate Thanksgiving. And they had some number of turkeys and some number of this and that, and their whole neighborhood together was going to have a Thanksgiving celebration. And my heart went like, wow, because that's like one of the next steps. That was amazing for me when I heard her say that. She wasn't talking to me either, and I was just happened to be there listening. I was right there within hearing range, and I went, wow. Next question. Okay, so the next question is children.
Okay.
What would you like to say to the children? The children who are watching the show and the children who may not yet be watching the show. All children. The collective kid.
Well, I had the privilege of meeting a person. I want to start there because it's about children. And, when I was in a group with the teacher I mentioned before, Janet Adler, I met a woman in the group. All the people in the group were just people to me. I had no idea what Janet called us altogether, but we came from all over the United States to meet with Janet and to do authentic movement. And so there was a woman named Sherry Anderson. I just talked to her. She knew I'd written a book, and she'd written a book. We decided to trade books. And I looked at the book she wrote, and I went, oh my, she wrote The Feminine Face of God. Oh, this is a very famous person. Oh dear. I'm in the presence of a really famous person. And so Sherry was writing, starting her writing about being an elder and what elderhood meant. And I said, oh, Sherry, people say something having to do with being an elder, and I don't know who they're talking about. And I look over my shoulder and don't know. She said, well, you better stop it, because the children are waiting. And I then had nothing to say, because I thought, I can't wait for a teacher to come, bless me, and say, okay, now you get to be an elder. Because Sherry was right. The children are waiting. They don't have guidance. And that set me on that little phrase, that little so succinct way Sherry had to put this, or did say it. I stopped being in awe of Sherry and just concentrated on that idea that more than likely the children don't have the kind of guidance that is necessary for them right now. And the only thing I can think of about that is that children aren't around enough inspired people to recognize, oh, maybe I'd like to do that. And some of that inspiration comes in little bits and pieces, like in a neighborhood party where all the neighbors gather for Thanksgiving. And we know for sure there's going to be something in that neighborhood party that children are going to have a great time with. There was a birthday party I went to many years ago, and there was probably an 8-year-old little girl at the party who was completely bored. And I frankly was really bored with the party. And so I asked her if she had a deck of cards. She said, yeah. So she got the deck of cards, and we proceeded to play fish and war. But she was really just a ruthless card player. And her energy was such that it revved up the energy around us until pretty soon the people from the party, the adults, started moving in our direction. And I said, Megan, we have to stop. This is like an adult party, and we're the ones here collecting all the attention, and the attention needs to go on the person having a birthday. But it was just like a magnetic draw to this exuberance. So, you know, I have these stories about children. I mean, I have weekend-long workshops just talking about children and stories about children. That if I say to a child, okay, who do you most respect? Who inspires you the most? I don't care if it's a television idol or something they've read or a toy. I don't care what it is. It could be an animal. But what is it about that inspiration that really lights you up? There's another light burn. What makes you, where is it that the you that you just love gets lit up? And how many times, but I asked adults that too. I'll ask them to divide their life up and look for that part that's the child part that is completely inspired and motivated and moved by so many different things. And sometimes children look at me and they go, I don't know, nobody, or nothing. And they just want to keep looking for it until we find it. I had an amazing experience in here that I don't know if we could get on film, but I was seeing a boy who was diagnosed with autism. And I was getting the neurofeedback room ready, and he was intrigued with this candlelight that's over here. And there were some matches, and he lit the candle, then he lit the matches, then he put the matches in different places on the candle so the candle would drip differently. I didn't even know the candle was burning. We went back and did our neurofeedback session for about 40 minutes, came out, and the candle had burned in such a way that there was a tremendous amount of fluid and a shape to the candle. Well, the next thing was the candle got knocked over. And I don't know which table it was, but on one of the tables was this spread of candle. Well, it was a ginger peach candle, so the elements in the candle had dimensionality to them. So some of the brown in the candle was higher than the creamy color. And we were looking at this, and it had, we stuck around a while with this. And actually, in moving that candle, wax from the table somewhere else, it broke, it shattered. But the very strange thing about it is, one of the shattered pieces is exactly a heart.
Oh, wow.
And I've kept it, I've had it for 2 years, it's over there on the table. And so this boy who, yes, okay, this boy who thought he'd done something really bad had actually created the most inspired piece of melted wax. And then he brought people to see it, and then I told the story, and other people wanted to see it.
He created a miracle.
He created this amazing, amazing thing. So that's what I do, is I encourage children to look for the inspired teachers, and I look for them to seek out those things that are absolute magic, to reconnect with that. And that's what I think all children need to do. And whatever classes they take, I just say to them, find the best teachers and take everything they teach. Even if you don't even want that class. If you didn't want to take German, but the best teacher teaches German, take German.
So you said something about wanting somebody to bless you as an elder?
Oh,
How did you say it?
how did I ask?
Do you want me to do it?
Oh, do I want you to do it?
Bless
sure.
you as an elder.
Sure.
How would I do it?
How you would do it? You would do it.
There. God bless you, Sarah.
I think probably that's happening. You feel very blessed. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking when you first asked that. Said that. I can do that. Okay. Children are the light of the world.
It's true. It's true. And I've reconnected with children because Michael has a 15-year-old daughter, and we'll become a grandfather in the spring, so there'll be a baby around. I feel blessed about that too, that I get to have more kids in my life, directly in my life. Especially this 15-year-old.
So the next question is, what would you like to add? Is there anything that you would like to add?
I want to go back and talk a little more about truly being seen. And I could take this leap into one gets blinded by the light of someone truly seeing them. And tell the story that probably set me on the course of teaching and working with people in a therapy or counseling setting, classroom setting. And it has to do with truthfulness. And it's a situation in which I was in a crowded room where I was a volunteer teacher and learning about ethics in the classroom. And it was very crowded, it was very warm, and it was a boring kind of non-discussion where a woman had volunteered to talk about ethics from her point of view, and she went on and on and on and on and on and on. And I was just waiting for her to stop when the facilitator for the group turned to her and said, "Do you know that none of us are listening to you?" And she said, "Yes." I was so startled by his cutting through her conversation and saying what was actually true for me. I didn't know if it was true for anyone else. I thought it was only me. That even though it appears to be a negative, to be interrupted like that, there was a tremendous feeling of light in the room, and lightness in the room, because it was the truth. And her startling response of, "Yes, I know no one's listening," was further truth. And then he said, "Why do you go on talking if no one's listening, and you know no one's listening?" And she said, "I guess it's more important for me to talk than it is to care whether anyone's listening." So everything fell away. I mean, it was like there was nothing else that existed. I don't remember anything else about it. It was an entire weekend of training. I don't remember anything about it. I just thought, this is what truth sounds like. And it was truth with a generosity of heart. It wasn't, even though it sounds negative, it was done with great heart by this professor who, I have no idea what his name was. Because I thought about him in later years and thought, I need to appreciate him for what he did. Because it set me on a course of recognizing that there's times when truth is abundant. And when truth is abundant and there's generosity of heart, there's a tremendous amount of light.
Thank you, Isabella. It's been an honor and a privilege to have you here. Thank you so much for being with me, accepting the invitation to be on my television. It's been a really powerful conversation and experience, and I'm most grateful.
Thank you. I actually learned a lot from you too. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much too. We've been speaking with Ze'ev Singer, licensed psychotherapist with an unusual practice. We've been speaking about light and light work. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We hope you've enjoyed this amazing conversation. Light Television number 8. We wish you light and peace. Bless your hearts and bless ours.